Welcome back to the Visually Hidden Selects podcast, episode 50.
Wow.
I'm going to say that again. Episode 50.
Wow.
Yeah, we've been doing this 2 years. Now, this is not our 50th film, though. That is coming up next March. But our first podcast, this whole endeavor started out in October of 2023 when we were talking about horror films and our Shocktober programming schedule, which is something that I have been doing personally for a very long time. And it's basically just like a 31 days of horror. You know, we called it Shocktober. And so the podcast kind of started from that. And it's, I think, kind of appropriate that we reach this milestone at this time 2 years later, and we're back in October and we're talking about one of the greatest horror movies ever made, 1984, A Nightmare on Elm Street, written and directed by Wes Craven, starring Robert Englund, Heather Langenkamp, John Saxon, oh man, Ronee Blakley, I don't want to forget anybody, Amanda Wyss, Jesus Garcia as Nick Corey, and of course, Johnny Depp. Did I say John Saxon? I'm going to say John Saxon again because John Saxon! And not only that, but in the background, we got a little Charles Fleischer action going on here. A little Roger Rabbit for you. Bada bing, bada boom. Know what I mean? So it has everything, and I just love it for it. But yeah, this one is, oh man, last October, we covered 5 films in the course of VHS. We did Frankenstein, we did Dawn of the Dead, we did Poltergeist, we did An American Werewolf in London, and we did, the granddaddy Halloween, the immortal classic, the original. So if you haven't, please go back into the VHS archive, into the playlist, and check those out, and the follow-up podcast, because those are some great conversations as well. But today, Nightmare on Elm Street. And this, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. This is probably, and I know Steve's gonna maybe argue a little bit, but for me, this is probably the best horror franchise. It's like, to me, it's pound for pound. When you get right down to the crux of it, it's the strongest and most entertaining, I'm gonna say. I know Steve is a big Scream guy, and there's a common link there. We're just gonna put Wes Craven on the pedestal from the jump, okay, where he belongs. Because you want to talk about a genius on many different levels, Wes Craven, holy cow. But this is the film that really kind of like broke him out into the world. Prior to this, he had done Swamp Thing. If anybody saw Swamp Thing, which, when I was a kid, it was awesome. As an adult, it's awesome for different reasons.
Yeah, it's still awesome.
Yeah, it's still awesome, but it's not as awesome as it was when I was like 7.
Yeah.
It was different kind of awesome, but it's still awesome. And then, The Hills Have Eyes, part 2 and part 1, and The Last House on the Left. Like, he really didn't have this huge filmography behind him. And I mean, he was well into his 40s, I believe, when he made this film.
This took a mainstream.
Yeah, this really broke him out into like, okay, now I have a career. Let's get to work, And rightfully so, because it's amazing and it looks beautiful. It sounds beautiful. It's incredibly well acted. The effects are amazing. We're going to talk about all of this and more. So, but I'm curious because I know, Steve, you're wearing your Freddy sweater. You're on board. You've been here since before I got here, and you just arrived to Elm Street. What do you think? How is it for you? Did I oversell it? Did I overdo it?
No.
Should I shut up?
Of course not. But no. You didn't oversell it, because I agree with you. It's probably one of the best horror saga I've ever watched. I'm not an expert like you guys, but I'm not a huge fan of horror movies. So I think if I say that, it means something, because when you don't like the genre and you say that it's a very good one, it's really you got surprised. When you think about it, it was a movie made in 1984. So I thought, I'm gonna. expect all the twist and everything. And actually, I was surprised many times, and I like this character. It's an iconic character. You hate it and you like it too, which is weird when you think about it. You kind of like him at the more you watch movies about the saga. I mean, in this saga, more you like Freddy. So I'm a bit scared of myself now, but but yeah. And Wes Craven, I know Scream. That's the only thing I know of him, and it's the kind of the same stuff. You kind of like this mask at the end. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So yeah, it's good to create a character that you're gonna be scared of, but you want to see more of him. So weird.
yeah. Freddy is a really, really captivating, and he's charismatic. I think that's really just the best way to
Yeah.
describe him. He has this charisma that, yeah, it pulls you in, and it's one part of it. Yes, it's Wes Craven and the writing and the creation of the character, but a much bigger part is Robert Englund and
No,
his
without a doubt.
performance and his portrayal. Like they went through such hardships trying to get this part cast. Originally Wes Craven wanted an older man to be Freddy. And then he's like, well, why don't I mean, he's going to be in makeup. So let's have him just be whoever. He's going to be in the makeup. And then, they thought about like maybe having like a stunt man be Freddy. Like most horror killers, like Jason's a stuntman in a mask, and Michael Myers is usually a stuntman in a mask, and My Bloody Valentine, all those, the Prowler, they're all stuntmen who are just doing the performance. But Freddy has such personality because he has lines, he has very involved engagement and interactions with his victims. So it's a totally different breed of villain and character, and the performance is really, I think, just what brings it together. When it came to part two, they didn't want to like pay for Robert Englund, and then they tried to do it without him, and they had some screen tests, and they realized like, oh shit, we need fucking Robert Englund. And from that point on, he was locked in, and he's still, to this sentence, God bless him, he is still forever Freddy Krueger. I mean, they tried to recast it when they did the reboot, and we're not even gonna open that door.
I haven't seen it. I refuse.
I love Jackie Earl Haley,
Me
and I
too.
think he's an amazing actor. And he wasn't even necessarily bad, but it was unnecessary. They didn't have to do that. We're not going to go there. This is about 1984, Wes Craven, Robert Englund, Heather Langenkamp, John Saxon. I'm not even talking about Johnny Depp. I don't even care that he's in this movie. Like that's a big draw for, I think, a lot of people. It's like, oh, Johnny Depp, ooh. No, John Saxon. There's only one John for me in this movie, and it's John fucking Saxon.
Well, I'll tell you, Johnny Depp is my favorite actor of all time, and I still don't even think about him when I think about this movie because
Yeah.
it's Robert Englund, it's Heather. That's it. Those
Yeah.
that combination is it. And there's a
It,
good part of my childhood where I think Elm Street was my favorite horror movie over Halloween. And then as I got older, I realized because they were like neck and neck, and then Michael won out, and that's still my favorite. But this was a fucking heavy hitter for a very long time, and still is.
I'm gonna say that I kind of almost see them in almost different categories. It's like Halloween is like the prototype. And again, we went into all this last year in the
Mhm.
VHS and in the podcast. So if you're curious about our thoughts on Halloween, go check that out. But as far as Nightmare on Elm Street goes, I'm going to say that it's probably the scariest movie, not ever made, but like conceptually,
Yeah,
I mean, everybody has to sleep. That's fucking terrifying, like, oh man, like there's literally no, like eventually you could outrun Michael, like he's
yeah,
not that fast. He's not that coordinated either,
yeah.
He falls down a lot, but Freddy, I mean, sooner or later you're going to cross paths, and that's just terrifying. So it's again just the brilliance of Wes Craven right there, and the simplicity of the brilliance.
This movie is so good in so many levels for so many reasons. And while I do enjoy other entries in this franchise, and I know Pete, you said you think it's the best. I disagree, but my God, the first one is lightning in a bottle in a way that, like, as sequels do in the horror genre, they try to recreate that magic, and sometimes they get it close, and sometimes they're far from where they started. That this first movie, man, still to this day, I mean, I think as iconic as Halloween score is, this score in Elm Street is so
Oh yeah.
fucking creepy and off-putting, and it sells so. I mean, listen, it sells so much of what's going on screen. But my God, the score for me is still, I still get chills sometimes listening to this. It's still that fucking creepy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's the beauty about this particular series of films. And again, why I think it's like the best horror franchises, because everybody can have their own favorite, and it doesn't like, like with Halloween, a lot of it comes from one, and a
Hmm.
lot of people will like argue to the end of time, like, nope, it's Halloween one. That's it. And like the sequels, some of them are okay, but they're not the first one. And you yourself, you prefer Dream Warriors, right?
Well, for Elm Street,
Is
it's
it Dream Warriors?
let's see, it depends on the day, because
Right.
Dream Warriors is one of my favorites, but for me, on any given day, it could be one or three,
Yeah.
and then seven is honorable
Yeah.
mention
I
for
have
me. But
a
yeah,
I have a good friend who's really into horror, and he loves part 4. Like part 4 is his favorite, the Dream Master.
Oh,
And
that's the next best after seven, in my
yeah,
opinion.
that's what I would say. For me, the storyline of Freddy and Nancy from 1 to 3 and then into 7, it's a super tight trilogy, and to just go even from 1 to 7 with Freddy and Nancy, and just the direction that 7 takes it, it's like, oh man, that's beyond brilliant. And that's breaking into what we're like almost drowning in now with the whole meta,
Mhm.
approach to filmmaking. And this was like 31 years ago. Wes Craven was, like lining that up.
It was a couple
So
years before Scream, so you see how
yeah,
the genesis of where that idea is going to go.
yeah. So just the brilliance of Wes Craven again cannot be overstated. And
I
and a lot of it stems from this particular film. It's the roots of an amazing career in horror.
I was fortunate enough to meet Robert Englund and Heather Langenkamp, and they were both super cool, super sweet people. And I had asked them which entries were their favorite, what was their favorite Elm Street movie. Both of them, they were across the room from each other, so it wasn't like they heard each other. But both of them had said the first one and New Nightmare were their favorites, and I'm pretty sure that Englund said that New Nightmare overall was his favorite.
Wow.
So yeah,
I could see that too, like coming from him, just because of again the direction and the approach that it
mhm.
took with the story, and what he was able to then do with the character, and I'm sorry you haven't seen that one yet, but
it's the
I don't want
seventh one.
yeah, the seventh one.
Ah, okay.
I don't want to give too much away, but Robert Englund really just, oh man, in that one you're gonna see it, and you're gonna realize like just how great he is as an actor, because he's doing like, I'll just say he's doing like kind of multiple roles and iterations. So you really get to see like a range within a very specific arena.
Yeah, I mean,
It's amazing.
this character, you know, as Anne had said, such personality, such charisma, and you think, oh, well, am I supposed to like this guy? And as Pete had mentioned in the video, and this is something that I have echoed personally to other people, I personally think that when you have a slasher movie or a horror franchise, if at some point in time you start rooting for the for the killer, you kind of lost the plot here a little bit. But
Yeah.
this first movie, man, he is so fucking terrifying. He is so in your face, and gleefully horrible. Like when he's cutting his fingers off, he's just smiling, like he's enjoying every moment
Yeah.
of that terror, which just takes it to another fucking
Maniacal.
level. Yeah, it's like, fuck, this guy's burnt to shit. he's like chasing me through an alley, and he's like, "Hey, look at this." It's like, whoa, this guy's not fucking right. But
Yeah, and he's not fucking around either.
no,
He's playing for keeps.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it hits on, obviously, like you said, Pete, the how terrifying we all have to sleep, right? We can't get away from it, but he hits on something that I know I've dreamt it. I know you guys have probably dreamt it when you're trying to run away from something and you feel like you're running in slow motion. And in my mind, I'm like, I know I'm way faster than what's happening right now. What the fuck? Or you're trying to get up the stairs and it feels like, oh my God, you know. And I know Craven hated that gimmick that they put in there with the stairs,
Yeah.
but it's happened to everybody and it's fucking relatable and it's terrifying when you have that kind of a feeling like you can't get away from the impending doom that's like right behind you.
Yeah. You've already kind of jumped and touched on so many different
Sorry.
elements. No, I wanna reel it in though, and just, yeah, like take it back to the music for a minute, because you mentioned
Sure.
that before, and about how the score is kind of a little bit more, we'll say, than the Halloween score.
Mhm.
The Halloween score is iconic, and it's like it's very unique,
Yeah.
we'll say. But this score, yeah, it's almost like it's creepy. It's almost, it makes you feel dirty a little
Mhm.
bit. There's like all these little sounds and layers.
And thin air is like
Yeah.
these
The
stingers and
and just the screeching of like the, his claws, like how they work that into the score. And then they got the fucking lambs,
yeah.
that are like
And then the
the
little
sheep
girl.
that you're counting, and the lambs to the slaughter, like just that whole theme and motif
And then the little
in
girls
there.
jump rope and they're doing the schoolyard jump rope
Yeah,
song
the
and it's
one
like
two phrase coming for you. Oh yeah, it's so good. But Charles Bernstein is the composer, and this score is, yeah, it's like the theme itself that comes in through the opening credits, but then throughout the film it just continues to build, and it is a very masterful score, especially in terms of horror.
yeah.
And I would say, yeah, like Halloween is iconic, but it's more so the theme.
Mhm.
The score for Halloween is incredibly simple, and it's only a handful of pieces that are like sprinkled throughout. This, it does more of like what a score should, where like it builds on different things, and then it introduces different things at different times, and it's not like, oh, this is this character's theme, this is this character's theme, this is, like it just continues to tell the story musically.
It
And
creates
like,
also atmosphere, crazy atmosphere.
yeah, you can listen to it and instantly know which part of the film you are in. Whereas like the Halloween score, you got Laurie's theme, you got the main theme, and then you got the kind of like lurking in the neighborhood theme, and they all kind of happen at several points throughout the film.
Yeah.
So yeah, the score for this is just kind of like at the tops of a horror score, and what it's like, that high water mark. I mean, it's fantastic.
Yeah, because it's like one of those, it's like Superman, like John Williams didn't do every one of those films, but that central theme is there, and the central theme
Yeah,
for Freddy is through all these movies because it's his music, and
yeah.
yeah, the atmosphere that this creates. I would dare to say that this movie's not as successful without the score. It just it elevates everything to a level where it's so fucking off putting.
Well, yeah, and when I love how, like, right from the beginning with the movie, like the score, the movie starts, and like the music is right there while Freddy's like building his glove, and just the atmosphere that it creates, like, you feel dirty while you're watching it.
Mhm.
You feel scared. Like you are in that boiler room watching this madman create this like instrument of terror. And when he first, when he finishes it and like he opens it up, then the title comes up on the screen, and like you hear like that synth, like, like, oh man, like you're right in the nightmare. Like it like hits the ground running, literally, because Tina's like fucking running for her life through that boiler room. Like it hits the ground running, and it doesn't stop for a breath,
No.
for a good long while. It isn't really until Nancy's walking to school and Rod Lane, like, pulls her into the bushes, does the film actually like pause for a second and like give you some like, what's going on here? Like
Yeah.
it's amazing. It's great pacing, great, editing, and just great direction again.
For me, it's one of the best opening, especially for a horror movie, because you have everything at the first scene. You have the big bad, so you understand he was a human and he has his glove that he did himself, he made himself, and then you have this moment with Tina. You don't get right away it's a dream, but it's a weird place she's in, and when you see the lamb,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody knows that it's going to be a sacrifice. You know, she's a sacrifice, and up she wakes up, and I don't know. For me, this opening is just great. I don't know how you feel about that, but for me, it's you have everything in just that opening.
No,
And
absolutely.
how wet the floor is, and she's like sweating, and it's just it's like a weird textural thing. It's like, oh fuck, it's like it's got to
Exactly.
be so gross down there. You know, her feet on the fucking bare feet freak me out in general. But like in certain situations, like out in public or out in like on fucking in like a metal warehouse, no, that's a nightmare for me onto
Uh-huh.
itself. But that's just like, oh god, how gross it's got to be. And the smell, like that like rusted steel smell.
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, there's all that
A sensory experience
all
once
that,
again.
yeah, going on down there is pretty wild.
Yeah.
I love the juxtaposition of it too, though. It's like the dirty, dingy, dark boiler room that is, wet and gross and scary and smelly and like all these horrible things, and then like the monster that's down there, Freddy, juxtaposed with this bright suburban, every town has an Elm Street. It's every, like,
Mhm.
and the sun is always shining, and it's, it's a beautiful, beautiful community. They're going to school. It's a bright, sunny day. The kids are jumping rope, even though they might be, just like apparitions, but it doesn't matter. Like everything in this film, it's like there's light and there's dark, and the juxtaposition, the way they come together is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Honestly, like
Mhm.
it's a very visually incredible film. Cinematically speaking, the cinematographer, uh, Jacques Haitkin,
Aitken. Hmm?
Jacques Haitkin, he just did such a fantastic job capturing not only the images and telling the story, but then also the practical effects. I mean, there's like 90 effects in this 90-minute movie, at least. There's so many like tricks of the camera and like in-camera tricks. I mean, last month on the Coming Distractions, we talked about Dracula, and specifically Bram Stoker's Dracula from
Mhm.
1992, and how that is a, technical masterpiece. And Nightmare on Elm Street is also right up there, with the misdirection and just the creative camera work and everything that they were able to do and utilize and play with in terms of the dreamscape that's
Mhm.
created in this movie. The surrealism, but it's all real. This is before CGI and computers and everything. Like it's just it's amazing. It's really spectacular, and you could study this movie, you know, for an entire semester and not learn everything that it's offering you.
And even the contrast to what you were saying with Tina in the opening scene, this stark white cotton nightgown, and
Mm-hmm.
everything around her is all dingy. She's got this beautiful blonde hair.
Yeah.
It's just like the girl next door in this
Mm.
horrific setting. So that right away you're like you're on her side because like this is wherever she is, not a good spot to be in. And now you want
No.
to know what's going on. Yeah. So it's just it sucks you into her nightmare.
And again, like you see the inspiration of Psycho, like we've seen it before with
Mm.
Marion, where it's like, oh, and then she's gone like after the first half of the movie. And Tina doesn't even make it. She's the first act,
Mm.
and it's actually Nancy that we're going on this journey with.
Yeah. Wes Craven does that with blondes in the beginning of his movies. Um, but since we're talking about her exit from the film, to this day, I tell anybody who'll listen. Tina's death is the greatest kill in horror history. Just from a visual standpoint, from a technical standpoint, that to me, out of all the different kills I've seen and all the different horror movies I've seen, Tina's always ranks number one, hands down.
To be frank with you, Tina's death for me, yeah, it's important in the story, that's for sure, but I kind of laugh watching it. Something wrong with me, I'm sure of
Well,
that. But the blood looks really, really fake on that one.
it's interesting. It's interesting because yeah, and you're watching it for the first time, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and see, Steve and I, we saw this. I mean, I saw this when I was
Not the age of watching it.
no, I
Wildly
was
inappropriate ages on
yeah.
WPIX.
No, no, not even. We had it taped from TV, so like I
Oh,
had it on
nice.
VHS at home, and I mean, I we grew up in the '80s, and you know, the sequels were like nonstop. It was like one a year, every year. You know, it was like
Yeah.
Christmas. You know, Freddy was coming. You know, and you know, so I remember like 4 and 5 when they were like out. They were on TV a lot and out on video. They were like fresh, and I remember when Freddy's Dead came out in 1991, but I had been watching Freddy probably since like kindergarten. Like I have a very distinct memory hanging out with my father, and he was like, "All right, so what do you want to do? You want to watch a movie?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "What movie you want to watch?" And I was like, "Can we watch A Nightmare on Elm Street?" He's like, "You want to watch that?" And I was like, "Yeah." And like I had already seen it, but like this is like one of my like fond memories of watching something with my father, you know, like being in like first grade, watching A Nightmare on Elm Street. And like he sat there and like we watched, that was like one of the first times he and I watched a movie together that I could recall, you know, not as like a family and not in the background, but just like me and my dad. We were the only ones home, and it was like a summer afternoon, and we watched A Nightmare on Elm Street, and it was awesome. I had already seen it. I knew Freddy from a lot of the other movies, and I had seen that one like maybe a couple of times before, but that's the one for me where it's like, oh yeah, like that's when I think of this movie. That's the time I like to remember like actually watching it. But for Steve and I, we saw it when we were really young. So to us, the blood was a lot realer than you know, it probably comes off, you know, now as a educated, you know, mature
Sure. But also
cinemaphile.
but also the moment when she when her boyfriends got beaten up by her body. I mean, I was like, oh. It's something I didn't see before, so I don't know, it was funny.
That
It's a
wasn't the
lot.
head Rod was expecting in the
Yeah.
bedroom. So he just gets sent to the dresser, you know.
It's a lot scarier when you're 6. No, for me, it's always going to be Johnny Depp. It's always going to be Glenn getting
Oh,
pulled into the
yeah.
bed. That is the number one kill of the franchise for me
Yeah.
because it's just so, it's so, you know,
Yeah, 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 it's
like
true.
one, you're not expecting it.
Yeah.
You're expecting to be in the boiler room face to face with Freddy. So when the glove comes out from underneath him and just pulls him into the bed, and then his stereo and his TV go in with him, it's like, oh shit. And then, you know, it cuts back and just the geyser of
Yeah.
all the blood in the world shooting out of the bed. It's like, that's fucking sinister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
But Tina's death, not that I'm because I mean both are fantastic.
yeah.
I think Rod's is the weakest, clearly,
Oh yeah.
of the bunch. But just think about that. That's the first kill you see on screen, and it's like, oh shit, this is a whole other level. Because like you think Friday the 13th came out in '80, so
Yeah.
like, and you just see these two kids get chopped by some unknown assailant. It's
Yeah.
like, oh,
No.
okay, that's how you start the movie and
No, being
whatever.
dragged across the cieling while cuts are just happening on you.
And this dude's
Mhm.
watching, like he can't do anything about it. It's like, oh
Yeah.
fuck, this is like what are we in for?
Yeah.
Because even
Yeah.
Michael, even Halloween, it's like, yeah, he gets the sister and whatever, and okay, it's creepy, it's scary, it's not cool. I mean, still to this day, I mean, again, I watched it last night, like, not that I had to, but I was like, oh fuck, I'm gonna put it on, just why not? And still, when she falls asleep in school, and she sees Tina's body getting dragged, the legs go up by themselves, and she like it's still the
Yeah.
scariest fucking. Just like I don't go down creepy hallways as a rule in my life, you know what I mean? And Nancy's got balls of steel because she's just like, I gotta go check this out. Where's Tina's body going? And I'm like, Tina's gone, hon. We gotta let her go. We gotta go the other direction. Like there's no saving Tina at this point. But she just goes
Yeah.
down to the fucking boiler room. Like, oh,
I love how yes, like Tina's dispatched early on, but she's still there. You know,
Yeah.
mhm,
she's there in the hallway. She's there again outside the police station with like the
mhm,
centipede coming out of her mouth, you know, like her presence and her ability to affect the story and affect the characters are still utilized. Like it's not like, you know, gone and forgotten. Like no, she's now part of like Freddy's arsenal against Nancy,
mhm.
Yeah.
which is great. Like that's again, it's just so brilliant. Ah, on so many levels. I love it so much. And while we're on the topic of Nancy, I'm just gonna gush for
Go,
about
go,
another, you know, 60 minutes here
do
because
it.
Heather Langenkamp in this movie, oh my God, you know, people always talk about like who's your favorite final girl or, you know, things like that. I don't really like that whole final girl idea or mentality or term because it's not even like like it's Nancy. Like
And it's
there's
not Jesse from Two.
no, and it's not anybody else from any movie ever, you know? Because and I'll tell you why. There's a very specific scene in this movie when she's with Glenn and he's, you know, talking to her about like dreams and how you have like power and da da da, da and you know they're on that bridge and there's
Mhm.
like a nice zoom in
He's
and
having a
then
burger.
he's having his burger because he's a jock and he's got to make weight or whatever and you know he's looking at what Nancy's reading and he's like, you know, booby traps and anti-personnel devices. What are you reading that for? And she says straight up, I'm into survival.
Mhm.
And that's it. Like once like that moment, like oh, that's my girl. Like she's not a
Oh my
victim.
God.
She's not a victim. She's not crying in the corner or like cowering or running like Lori, you know, or even Marilyn Burns from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You know, she's just running for her life. And granted, yeah, fucking guy with a mask of human flesh chasing you with a chainsaw. You run. You don't
Yeah.
stand. You run. You fight another day. But still, like the fact that like Nancy like goes after him,
Mhm.
goes after him hard.
True. Yeah.
Multiple
Like
times. Multiple times.
yeah, like oh man,
She
like
got balls. I mean, she.
what what a character, what a like strong female character, you know, like
Mm,
people are always talking about Ripley and Sarah Connor and it's like fucking Nancy Thompson
mm.
Well,
all
I
day.
I was really surprised that you got a crush on her, Pete, because
Since
uh,
I was like 6, since I was in first grade, I was like, "Oh man, that's the dream woman. If he's the, you know, the nightmare, she's the dream."
oh my God. Because when you watch the first movie, she's really how to say that? She's not fun. I mean, she has three expressions: angry, worried, and frightened. You
sleepy.
know, yeah. And when she falls asleep, there is a scene she falls asleep. Oh my God, she doesn't play well. I mean,
Well, now you're just
it,
nitpicking.
I'm sorry, but sometimes, yeah, I mean, she was super young, right, when she played the first movie, so
It's
it makes
funny
sense.
in the movie she says, "God, I look 20 years old" because she's supposed to be a 16-year-old, but she
Yeah.
actually was 20 when they made the movie. She's
Oh.
actually from Tulsa, Oklahoma, I believe, and she was cast in The Outsiders,
Hmm.
but they cut her
Mm.
Oh
scenes.
wow.
Uh-huh.
And then she was also cast in, I believe, Rumblefish, which was also Francis Ford Coppola that same year, 1983, and they cut her scenes.
Oh,
So
okay.
then
Wow.
she made her way out from Oklahoma to California, and she got the role of Nancy, and that was it.
Mhm. But maybe because she didn't smile, she got cut in the other movies. Because really, in the first movie, she only smiled. I believe she only smiled at the ending scene. Otherwise, she's
No.
no, look at the
When
movie
when
again.
when Glenn is playing with his sound effects, they're
Oh,
having a gay old time.
yeah.
Okay, maybe. Okay, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, before Tina, bites the dust, Nancy's just a fun-loving teenager,
Mhm.
But don't get me wrong, I like this character. I prefer Tina, to be frank. In the first movie, I really love Tina because you don't really know if she's vulnerable or she's a rebel because she's with Rod. So she has a double face in a way, but you really understand that she's vulnerable because when you see her with anxiety and everything, it's during her dream, and actually, dream is the true us. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So that's what I really love in this character, and I like the twist that you think there is a moment you think that maybe Nancy is the very gentle woman, a gentle kid, and you understand with the death of Tina, she, as you said, she becomes a survivor. She goes to the danger to kill it. She really do something against the attacker. So I really like Nancy, but I think you really understand Nancy in the movie, the third one, Dream Warriors. You
Mhm.
really
Oh yeah.
understand the character, and I really liked her in this movie. While in the first one, I was like, she's not fun. So
Well, but you see, and when you get to part 7, and it's gonna all come together. You really shortchanged yourself here.
okay, I have to watch
But
it.
but that's the thing, and that's what Steve and I keep going back on and saying. It's like it's Freddy and Nancy, and so that through line of 1, 3, and 7, there's a progression and there's an arc and there's like a character development throughout the 3 movies. It really is a built-in trilogy, and then these other movies, 2, 4, well, 4 and 5 are connected through Alice.
Mhm.
um but they're kind of like a monster of the week. Like these are the main like lore mythology films, and then the other ones are just like a monster of the week, kind of like the X-Files. You got your episodes with the black oil, and then you've got your fluke man.
Yeah. No, for sure. But I will say, for all of the kids in the movie, it's a great cast because they're all good characters, and it's not the typical annoying teens that you want to see murdered,
Yeah.
or
No, that came later. That
yeah,
came from that like that was this archetype being like molested and mutated by studio executives who
yeah,
didn't understand how to make a movie. They just understood like box office, killing. Okay, yeah, let's get victims.
yeah, yeah. It's
But
And
it's
just bad
there's a
writing.
there's a teen you want to see killed at the beginning. It's Rod, but then it changes when he's accused to the murder of Tina. You feel empathy for him, but at the
I don't
beginning,
even
is
I don't know that you want to see him killed
at the
like in
beginning
the
I want him dead.
Anne's bloodthirsty these days.
and maybe
She's
you
got a
shouldn't be
bloodlust.
watching these movies. Maybe we've created a monster here. I don't know.
She's got a
Maybe.
bloodlust that knows no
Bad
bounds.
influence. No, I think what he does there. So the character of Rod Lane, credited in the movie as Nick Corey, but the actor's name is really Jesus Garcia, and that's a whole other story that you can learn about in the Never Sleep Again 6-hour or 4-hour documentary about the entire series. He talks specifically about that and how his agent said he should change his name. um, but his performance is really strong, and the thing that I really like about his performance is that, yeah, he's a teenager, and he's a horny teenager. He wants to bang his girlfriend, and he doesn't care about being a jerk about it. If you listen to the dialogue, Johnny Depp says he got that sound effects tape from Rod. So
Hmm.
they're buddies. He's just a bit of a jerk, but he's not a bad guy, and he's not obnoxious to the point, at least for me, I don't know about Anne, where you want to see him killed. If you watch other films in the series, or even I know I said we weren't going to talk about the remake, but if you watch the remake, even just for like the first 15 minutes, yeah, there's some fucking teens in that movie. You just want them to get hit by a car. Forget about Freddy getting them. You just want to see fucking blood on the pavement and move on with your life. They're just obnoxious, you know, shits, to put it bluntly. Rod is actually, you know, he if you get to know him, which you do a little bit, you know,
He's sensitive.
yeah,
He's
he's not,
scared. Yeah, he's not as tough as he pretends to be. And
yeah.
he opens up with Nancy, which is a cool dynamic to see him have a
And his
softer side.
performance is really good because he can do all
Yes,
those
I agree.
things, you know. He can be that fun loving guy, you know. He can be that kind of jerky tough guy, and then he can be the kind of sensitive, you know, like vulnerable guy. So it's a great performance. Again, yeah, like you said, the whole cast is fantastic. I mean, even Johnny Depp, you know I said I don't care about him, but he's good. It's a good start, you know.
Solid, yeah.
You know, when you think about, like, he was actually like, he was a rock and roll guy, you know. He was in a band and he just happened to go to the audition, and you know, the reason he got cast was because Wes Craven's daughters thought he was cute. You know, and there's a career that we wouldn't have had otherwise, you know, because of teenage hormones. We got Johnny Depp in the cinematic universe, and from that we get Edward Scissorhands, and we get Gilbert Grape, and we get, you know,
Captain Jack
Ichabod
Sparrow.
Crane and Jack Sparrow, and you know, just a slew, you know. And his portrayal of Hunter S. Thompson, like, it was unbeatable when you know, look at the facts. But you know, the film, though, and I mentioned this in the VHS, like, it was marketed on John Saxon's back, on John Saxon's body of work. He was the star. And granted, you know, I mean, he was in Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee. He was in Black Christmas like 10 years earlier. Didn't age a day between the two movies,
We're in the same
you know?
uniform.
And he brings it a real sense of credibility, though. You know, his he is such a solid character actor, and I love how he comes back in 3,
And
you
7.
know, and in 7
I
he
love the
comes back.
relationship between him and Nancy. It's so
They
good.
have great chemistry as both John Saxon and Heather Langenkamp, and as Nancy and her father. You know, there's nothing phony or phoned in about him or his performance in any scene of his career, but in this movie specifically. You know, when he shows up at the police station and, you know, he's getting briefed, like, blah 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 blah, you know, like, what's going on, you know, and like, well, what was she doing there? He's like, not her, like, what were you doing there? And he comes in and now he's the father. You know, he's not the police officer that he was outside the door. Once he steps in, he's the father, and you see that switch in the performance, and it's seamless.
It's such a great shot too, because you see Nancy's picture on his desk and then her sitting there, so you immediately know what's
Mm-hmm.
going on without them having to beat you over the head with it.
And
Yeah.
then his relationship with the wife, you know, with Ronee Blakley, the ex-wife, you know, like, their dynamic. And when they're at the funeral for Rod, you know, and they're all kind of talking, and then at the end of the movie, when he's talking to her on the phone, he's like, just tell me who did it, baby, I'll go arrest him, you
Yeah.
know, like,
I'll go get him.
all right, just go watch my house and make sure nothing happens, let me know if anything happens. He's talking to the deputy, you know. It's like, just, yeah, their performance right up to the very end, when Freddy gets the mom,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and he's like, I can't believe what the fuck I'm seeing. Like, it's so solid and grounded. It just, yeah, like, you know, because again, like, they're all young actors,
Yeah.
you know, they're all in their early 20s. To have him as like a veteran of not only the genre but of the industry, it's like, yeah, like, that's credibility right there. You know, like, this movie really has some gravitas behind the cast now with him. And Ryan Blakley was nominated for the Oscar. Not for this.
I don't know your feelings on this, but Ronnie Blakley, for me, whether intentional or not, is the fucking comic relief of this movie.
Oh, I saw this in the theater, and yeah, you would have thought we were watching like fucking Austin Powers or something. Every time she came on screen, she's hiding booze in the linen
The
closet.
booze in the linen closet crushes me every time, but she has this way about her where she just like, she's so drunk constantly that she's just kind of floats in and out of the frame. Like, don't worry, mommy killed him.
But it's progressive.
Yeah.
like in like when she takes Nancy to the sleep clinic and she's sitting there with
The
the
Roger.
technician,
Mhm.
like you really like are are in that scene through her, like your concern for Nancy is
Mhm.
coming through her and her performance. And then as it progresses, I always love the scene when Nancy confronts her in the kitchen and she has her bottle and then she's like, screw sleep, and smashes the bottle.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, yeah, you tell her.
One part that cracks me up every time is when Nancy's in the tub, and she's like, I got you some more milk," and it just
Warm
it just
milk.
it just leaves just leaves the frame. It just fucking cracks me up. I don't know why. I find it so hilarious every time I'm like, here she comes with the fucking milk. You know,
Hmm.
Mm.
it's just so good. Me and my brother crack up every time we see it. It's just ridiculous. But she's yeah. It's like she's got moments when you feel for her, but for me, I don't know. She's always comic relief in this movie.
Yeah. When she comes out of the house at the end and then she's pulled through the window, like that's rough stuff, man.
When I saw that, I thought, oh wow, she's skinny because
Well, she's on an all vodka diet. I mean, she's
yeah.
went right through the fucking. She felt none of that glass, none of that pain.
Because when you think about it, this poor Nancy's mother, you understand why she's alcoholic after all. I mean, what
Hmm.
she's been through, and you understand that at the end. In you understand that the fact that her daughter is living that, she's really it's really impactful for her. She guilt and the fact that yeah, her poor daughter, she doesn't know anything about it, but she's living her fear. She's living her mother's fear in her flesh. I mean, it's really when you think about it, it's really deep, the message behind it.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Well, and not to mention the fact that she's part of the parents that stopped Freddy, that burned him, that killed Freddy. So that kind of alludes to Nancy probably had an older sibling
Yeah,
that
mhm.
Freddy, dispatched.
yeah.
And so, just the cycle of guilt and trauma and vengeance and revenge, like throughout, all of these characters, like the motivation for everybody's actions.
And
And
then the
that's
parents weren't
why
together
she
anymore.
that's yeah, the family, like it broke up the family and then it made the mother into an alcoholic. And yeah, it's
And then
like
the father, because in the third movie you see that he's
yeah.
turning alcoholic too. So
Yeah, so when you watch it like superficially, it's like, oh yeah, that was cool, that was fun. But like again, like you go into it, you go deep, as we do here on the podcast. Like we look for the subtext
But
and
if
what's
you
visually hidden, and all of these little elements, in the character and the story. It's all there. Like we didn't put it there. It's just these are the things that I hope people, when they watch it, they either experience, or when we talk about it, they think about it differently. So when they go back to it, it's like, oh man, yeah, this movie has a lot more to offer than just kills and thrills.
well, if you think about when the movie opens and Tina has the dream sequence and all that stuff happens to her, but then when she wakes up, her mom comes in, looks fucking disheveled, not unlike Ronnie that we see
Uh huh.
later on, and she's
Yeah.
got some man over, he's like, "Just come back to bed, baby," that kind of a deal, and it's like, okay, and then if you think about it further than that, part three, Kristen's making the Elm Street house out of the sticks and the Mosh Podge or whatever she's doing, and her mom's on a date with some random dude. So like they all these kids who all the parents who condemned Freddy have broken marriages and are all
Yeah.
fucked up in some kind of way. So it's very interesting to see how that play out through all the movies.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, well, and especially like it's interesting, and then when you get to part four and like he wraps up all the kids from part three,
Hmm.
but then like he transfers over to the new crew of Elm Street kids that he never got to. He never touched their families, and now he's like spreading like a
Yeah,
like a plague. And then as it goes on, in part six and well, we won't go there, but you know. Yeah, what if you know, you know. I love how at the end, yeah, Nancy just brings the fight to him, pulls him into our world, and I love the way they set it up at the dream clinic where she takes his hat out
Mm-hmm.
and like establishes the rules of the Freddyverse.
Yeah.
And then how it comes around later to pay off where she pulls him into, and I love that shot when they're wrestling and they're in the rose lattice, and then the alarm goes off and it's around her face, and then it pulls back and they go away because like the dream has gone away, so it's
Yeah.
really just like a couple of grips on the side of the camera pulling it away as they pull back. It's just, again, brilliant filmmaking execution, and yeah, the effects really tie it all together.
And one thing I'll say that I love about this movie is that there are no cheap jump scares. Some movies just beat you to death with cheap jump scares, and I feel like there's the buildup of Freddy's coming. Like you hear the claws, or you hear like the music, or you'll hear something. But then when he pops out of the fucking bushes, or he just jumps on her through that table in the back
Yeah.
of Tina's house, I mean, he's on her. I mean, there's no. I mean, when he jumps on Tina, rather, there's no fucking around. Like
When he comes through the mirror and
Yeah.
he's fighting with Nancy, it really holds up so incredibly well. And I think a big part of it is the practical effects. Of course, it's the story and the performances. It's everything that we've mentioned, but really it's just something that you've got to like sit down and experience, and there's been so much, in the subsequent, 41 years since this film came out, and like the bar has, I don't even want to say it's been raised, but like it's been pushed, further and further,
Yeah.
with like the Saw movies. And then you get into, the fucking idiocy of Eli Roth and Hostel and, all that torture porn bullshit where it's, and now it's fucking Terrifier, where it's like, there isn't a fucking story, like it's just gore and horror for the sake of horror. It's like, this is like a real story with real characters, and it's really impactful, and it stands the test of time.
I always,
and the proof of that is Anne, who had just watched it for the first time, being as affected as she was, and declaring that it is probably one of the greatest openings of a movie, and then one of the best, horror films, that she's seen, and she's seen quite a few now, just, in the past couple of years.
Thanks to you.
Again, if you didn't live in the 80s or grew up in the 80s the way we did, I don't think people like, I had this talk about when Hulk Hogan passed a little while ago. And I said, people like kind of, whatever you felt about his personal beliefs and his actions, that guy was massive in the 80s. That was a massive cultural icon. And Freddy Krueger, I don't know if anyone realizes, like, he hosted horror award shows on UPN 9. They had the 1-800 call, talk to Freddy.
Freddy,
talk to you.
Freddy could have won. Freddy could have run for fucking president of the United States and won if he were so inclined.
Mm-hmm.
Like people are like, let's vote for Freddy Krueger. He fucking won.
But if you know, you know. But if what you call it, he had the TV show Freddy's Nightmares.
Yeah,
I think Brad Pitt might have been on an episode of that.
Yeah,
back in the day. But like, yeah, the TV show really late at night with a lot of big name people were on that before they were known.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the board game. Just the masks,
merchandising out the fucking ass. You think of like Ninja Turtles and Star Wars in terms of merchandising, and Freddy Krueger was right there.
Talking Freddy, the pull string. It was Pee Wee, Beetlejuice, and Freddy with the pull string guys.
Yeah, marketed to young children. Like it was wild. Like it was you would never see something like that today. I mean, you still see them as toys, but it's marketed towards, grown-ups.
Yeah.
Like it was just a different time, and it was almost like a different like world.
Yeah. Was it 41 years now, right? And there has not been one Halloween where I haven't seen at least one Freddy Krueger out there in the streets.
That will about do it for us here today at the Visually Hidden Selects podcast. We will be discussing a completely different film next time, so make sure you head over to our YouTube channel and subscribe so you don't miss any future selections. You can catch Stephen Bendler over at Steve's Pop Culture Corner on Instagram. Ann and I, of course, are also on Instagram, as well as Letterboxd, so you can follow us over there and find out what we've been watching and see what we think. And until next time, never sleep again.